Welcome everyone, and thank you for making the time to be with us this morning. We don't always get this opportunity, so it is really a blessing that we have a speaker who can give us more insight into something that we all know we want to have more of, and that is goodness. Every day we wake up to terrible news. Every day we see or hear of something unfortunate happening to others. And we wonder, why? What has happened? Well, we cannot answer all these questions, but we can try to enlighten ourselves. And one way of doing that is by coming over to talks such as this. So once again, welcome, and may you make the most out of this Saturday morning. I'd like to call on someone who is always tasked with the honor of introducing the speakers. Why? Because she's also a very good speaker herself. And she really knows how to introduce speakers so that everyone will be looking forward to the talk. So ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome Dr. Esther Velasquez.
Aisa Sigera, wow. Good morning, everyone. Maayong buntag. I think we just opened the day right. The video was so beautiful. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the best that we have in Brahma Kumaris, Sister Judy Jackson Johnson.
Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. She's a hard act to follow, isn't she? Now what am I going to do? After that, amazing. Thank you, Esther, for that warm and lively introduction. I'm alive now after listening to you. It's really nice to be here. I'm in Cebu until tomorrow, and then I go back to Makati, and then Australia, and back to Canada. On November 19th, I fly across the world from Australia to Halifax, which is, I think, 8 hours, 11 hours, 7 hours. Right, so 3, long hauls. So I'm really hoping for some good values-based movies. But anyways, and it's on my birthday, November 19th. Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you, everyone.
This is the clap of the hearing impaired.
Yes.
The quiet clap.
Quiet clap. It's the one we use in the Brahma Kumaris too, as meditators. We do this. Silent clapping. Well, the reason I was telling you that, thank you for the birthday wishes. That's great. It's that how often do you get to live your birthday for a consecutive 24 hours plus? Because I'm going against the time zones. So I will fly my whole day of my birthday, and then I will land for my birthday. Isn't that great? And it's to use Esther's digital memory, it's my 95th birthday. 95th, she inverts her age. So I'm older than she is. I'm 95, she's 47. So, it's wonderful to be here. This topic is very warm to my heart. As I look out at the group and I'm told who is coming, and I see who's here, I think I'm preaching to the converted, right? I'm already sitting amongst those who believe in goodness, who believe that it's what's needed in the world at this time, and who are values-based. Is this true? So there's nothing I'm going to tell you about values, maybe that you don't already know, or about the need for goodness. So for me, this morning is really an opportunity to share in the experience of an atmosphere of goodness. So when you get this many of us together, dedicated for a couple hours of our time on a precious Saturday morning, although no traffic, that was good. You know, what happens when this many of us get together for something like this is that we're essentially generating an atmosphere. So an individual goodness, an individual who's filled with goodness, together with 100 other individuals filled with goodness, automatically creates an atmosphere of goodness. So my feeling is what's needed in the world at this time is that we carry this little atmosphere with us wherever we go. Because there are so many negative atmospheres out there that even just a drop of goodness can change the atmosphere. But for you this morning, my wish for you is that you just really enjoy being immersed in an atmosphere of goodness with others, and that you take that away with you to our world much in need. How does that sound? Yeah, nice way to spend your morning. So this topic has been done before with CNU yesterday morning. We had 250 graduating teachers and had a lot of fun. So today, because the same slideshow, although I've added some new slides, I know some have been before, so I've come up with some different exercises for us to do, activities, experiential, for us to do this morning, so that we can not just talk about values, but experience them as well, if that's all right with you. I'm at heart an experiential educator. So for me, making a lecture is sort of my least favorite thing to do. Facilitating a series of experiences with reflection is my preferred mode. So I brought a few little exercises that we could then reflect on, because I think when we're told something, it has a very different impact than when we experience something. And then we reflect on what we experienced and draw meaning from that. Then it becomes my truth, rather than someone else's beautiful idea, even if well articulated. So that's my belief. So even with some of the toughest groups on the planet, I will always try and do an experience with them. So I'm a bit of a courageous soul that way, but this morning no courage required. I'm amongst friends. So the topic of goodness, I have ushers with baskets full of things. If our ushers could distribute those things, now is your moment. Ushers are coming somewhere. There they are. Yeah, now's your moment. If everyone can take one of these sweet little things, just pass along quickly and take one so that everyone has. We've got 5 or 6 baskets. Maybe start at the middle and work back. Yeah, so everybody gets. I brought with me all the way from Canada. They didn't weigh anything, thank goodness. A bunch of pipe cleaners. You know those little fuzzy things that look like caterpillars? They were originally made to clean somebody's pipe, but now they're made for children to play with. Yeah, so there's a pipe cleaner there for everyone. If the baskets can go across the aisles. Pick a color you like, but don't take too long shopping, because we got to move for the others to get. Do we have enough baskets? This side of the room to have? Maybe pass the basket across, or you can just take a handful, Ellen, if you don't mind, out of one of those baskets and pass it to the other side. Just take a handful and pass it to the back of the room so that they can all get quickly. All right. So if you can hold this just for a moment without playing with it too much. We're going to begin the session with a little contemplation exercise. So when I have the honor of going to the Middle East to teach meditation to individuals who are practicing Muslims. And the word meditation in the Middle East is not a terribly popular word, so we use other words like inner leadership, values, things like this. And I found it's a really wonderful way to get people to become introverted while playing. So while the hand's moving with something, the mind is free to contemplate. And anyone who does crafts, like stitching or crocheting or knitting or I'm not sure what some of the manly crafts are, the brotherly things. But anyways, when you're doing something with your hands, your mind is free to wander. And sometimes your mind is actually just free because you've given yourself permission to be free because your hands are busy. But also it allows the subconscious mind to be free to reveal things to you. So I brought these little pipe cleaners so that our hands can be doing something and our minds can just be free, and including our subconscious mind. Be free to reveal things to us. Does everybody have one now? Anyone missing? Hand up and we'll get one to you. No, it looks like everyone has. Okay. Everyone has? Oh, a couple do not have over here. If you can put your hand up so they can find you. Put your hand up. Those who do not have. There we go. So we send to them. Thank you. This is a short version. I had to cut them in half because we had more people coming today. But if you can, what I would like you to do for just 2 minutes, and I'm actually going to time it. If you can put down your bags and your papers and your cell phones, and I think cell phones are in silence mode before they go down. But if you can just really allow yourself to be free, hands free, mind free, except for this little thing. This is going to serve like a focusing mechanism for the mind, okay? So we tend to follow what our eyes can see. If my eyes can wander around, that's what I'll think about. But if I'm focused on something, it focuses my attention. This is actually the first step of meditation, is to focus my attention. This is a simple, easy little way to do that, okay? For 2 minutes, I'm going to ask you just to play with this thing. Any shape you want to make, shape and unshape, reshape, doesn't matter what you do with it, just play with it. But as you're playing with it, I would like you to contemplate this question. The question is, what does goodness mean to me? Okay, 2 minutes, in silence, no speaking to anyone, just remain in silence, alone with your own mind, your own thoughts, your own feelings, and your own little pipe cleaner. Okay, so for 2 minutes in silence, as you play, what does goodness mean to me anyways? What is goodness? Okay? Okay, so that was probably about 3 minutes. How was that? Is that pleasant? Is that nice, just to be in silence with yourself, with a focus, a singular focus? So I'd like you to, in a minute, I'm going to ask you to share. You can share what you created, if you like, if there is any form. But mostly what I'm interested is, what thoughts went through your mind? What did you notice come up inside of you as you contemplated this question, what is goodness? Okay? So just take a minute, reflect what came up for you as you were doing this little focusing exercise, and then turn to the person sitting next to you and share. And if you're just 3, you can chat as 3 together, but pairs or trios. Show your little show and tell if you want, if there's anything to show. And if not, the most important thing is what came up inside of you as you contemplated this question, what is goodness? Okay, go. So a lot of the words you're describing are actually values words, right? Quality words. Mine was, I ended up having this little, I opened a Gmail on a foreign computer this morning. You know that, the logo that comes up? Yeah, and I thought, it was so small, and then I looked at that and I thought, email? What's that got to do with goodness, And then I thought, it's electronic mail, but actually I thought it's energy mail. Sending energy with my mind. So, goodness. So, I think when I started making a little slideshow for this, I kept mixing up these 2 words. And spell check didn't correct it. So I kept writing godness instead of goodness. And it never got corrected on the computer, which I thought was odd. So godness is a word, apparently. And I started thinking about what's the connection between goodness and godness. And I mean, for me, as a meditator, my belief is that we're all full of goodness. It just needs to get activated. And so the light of God, for me, is an activator. It's a pure energy source that lights me up and lights up all my goodness. So I thought it was kind of fun that they got mixed up. So let's explore this. I think goodness has got something to do with all those positive qualities you were sharing, which we call values, but actually they're virtues. They're positive qualities of the human soul. All of those things, caring, peace, happiness, kindness, love, they're all qualities. And then we make them values when we choose to live our life by them. Values guide our decisions. Values guide our life. They're like our principles, my inner ethical policy, right? But I have many, many virtues, many, many qualities inside of me. Why do we need to keep goodness alive if we're all full of goodness? We're all full of all these qualities. Why do we need to keep goodness alive? Is it dying? Is it dead? Is it buried? What do you think? Why do we need to keep goodness alive at this time? Why would we even have a session titled Keep Goodness Alive? Because we're like soldiers every day and we forget that goodness is the core. We try to survive. Everybody's in survival mode. Yeah, we don't really focus on thriving when we're in surviving mode. It's true, isn't it? It's more than just treadmill in terms of success. I think the world has come to the point where people really are just trying to survive every day. Thank you for sharing that. It's a good point. So when I look around, and certainly I check my own heart, I have a huge concern for the state of humanity. You know, my own family, my own kids, my own community, but the whole world. And I think many of us who come, who are interested in values-based education or living our values, it's because we have a very deep concern for humanity. It's like we're all world mothers. We would just like all the children to get along, please. And we'd like all the children to be happy and healthy, right? So it's like the whole world becomes our home. Even though on a daily basis, we get lost in struggling to get by in my little world, in reality, we see the whole world is really important. Is that true of you? I'm thinking I'm sitting amongst fellow, sister, whatever, companion, world mothers. Yeah. So, concern for the state of humanity. I lost this slide somewhere, so I'll just tell you. When I was thinking about concern, I was feeling my concern for the state of humanity was growing. And when I looked at the word concern, I tried to understand what's really makes up, because part of that seems like a good thing, concern for humanity, but part of it seems a bit disabling. Right? Then I realized, well, concern is actually two qualities combined. Concern is actually made up of care and worry. And I thought the reason we need to keep goodness alive is because the worry is increasing and maybe overshadowing the care. Yeah? So care plus worry equals concern. I would rather take the worry out and maximize the care. So that's why I think we need to keep goodness alive, because the world needs it. However, I think goodness is experiencing a resurgence in the world at this time. I think we didn't value it as much before. The more bad things happen in the world, I think the more people are beginning to value goodness. Do you think? You know, it was just something we expected. Small communities, small families, big families. Goodness was just kind of how it is. But as more and more bad, negative, destructive, violent things happen in the world, I think it's awakening this sense of how important goodness is. That it is really the basis of what makes human life worth living. Would you agree? So it's kind of like we live in economic, materialistic times. In terms of the economy, anything that's scarce becomes valuable. Right? In a drought, water is valuable. Gold is not valuable, unless it can buy you water. Right? But at a certain point, if it can't buy you water, what are you going to do with a bar of gold? Nothing. It has no value. Right? Value is human-made in that sense. So, I think the times we're living in are revealing to us how valuable goodness is. Do you agree? So, we haven't really seen that up until now. So what is goodness? We've had some good conversation about this. If you think of the living examples of goodness, do you have any in your lives? Do you have people who for you are living examples of goodness? I'm in a room probably full of living examples of goodness in this room. For others, I bet you're all a living example of goodness. That's why you're here today on a Saturday morning doing this instead of sleeping, right? Because somehow you feel this is going to help you be better, be good, live your values, right? So I feel that the world is full of living examples of goodness. We may not see them in the media, right? We may not see them on all the popular shows, right? We may not see them on billboards. All the more valuable then, right? Because they get to do incognito work, right? Ground level, bottom up, grassroots. Right? And for goodness to be sustainable, it has to be at the root. It has to be the base of something, not the surface expression, which is what the media is all about. Right? So we're grassroots workers, goodness. For me, goodness is everything you've just described. Love, care, wanting what is best for another. That's the simplest definition I've heard of love. It's in the Living Values program. The Brahmakumaris did an initiative to celebrate the United Nations 50th year. And they went around to all their BK centers around the world in 50, 60 countries at that time, now 100 plus countries, 9,000 meditation centers, Brahmakumaris around the world. But they went around at that time asking people, look, if we could have a better world, what would your vision be? And everyone across culture, across religion, gender, race, age, etc., they all came up with the same 12 words. And they were the 12 values that are the basis of the Living Values education program. So love, peace, cooperation, unity, respect, happiness. I'll forget them now, but you know what they are. They're the basics. We all want them, right? And so these values are really important to everyone. And in the book, a 5-year-old defined love as wanting what's best for my friend. And the adults turned it into wanting what's best for another, which a 5-year-old wouldn't say. But the basic concept, wanting what's good for someone else, that's love. How simple is that? We've made love so complicated. It's a commodity, I package it, I give it to you, but not you. You know? There's the romantic kind, and then there's the motherly kind. Stop, it's all so complicated. Love is really simple. And love isn't even an emotion, because emotions come and go. Love is a core quality of the soul. It's essentially who I am. Therefore, if I'm in touch with my core nature, I will just emanate love. Right? If anyone comes anywhere near me, depending on how far my energy mail goes, right? They'll just get some. I'm not directing it like a commodity, right? So love. So when you think of all the values you described earlier, all the values we could talk about, what inside of you makes you want to share those values, or live those values, or grow those values in others? Underneath, there is this deep impulse to give, isn't it? That's love. It's the deepest of all the values, is this impulse to give. We can't not give. We're happiest when we're giving, right? So I'm going to define goodness really as the impulse inside each of us that makes us want to give our values, kindness, peace, happiness, all the ones we described to the world. What do you think? Good working definition? Can we use it? Goodness is just the package of all the values inside of each of us, but the impulse to give them, right? So whether that's, I saw someone the other day, struggling with a screaming toddler while she was shopping. It's not uncommon for mothers to have this experience. I certainly had this experience, and somebody walking by and just playing with the child, right? Or even a smile at the mother like, I got you, I know what that's like. Goodness, it was the tiniest little thing. And yet the impulse of the person walking by and seeing her struggling was to give. In that case, a little reassurance. In that case, a little understanding, right? It's so tiny, and yet we do it all the time, right? So growing this, how do we grow something that's already there? I think we just need to see it. We need to honor it. We need to value it in today's world. So it's not a small thing. And the good people who gather together in places like this on a Saturday morning, it's just kind of part of who they are, so you maybe don't even recognize its value. It's enormously valuable, the most valuable thing in the world at this time. And yet, a small army of incognito, unfamous people are the ones to carry goodness out into the world, right? Because there's something selfless in goodness. Yeah? So, I think you need to keep goodness alive for your sake, so that you don't get inundated by the negative messages in the world, that you don't lose your own feeling of goodness when the rest of the world goes a bit crazy around you, that you don't give in to disheartenment or hopelessness or cynicism or any of the things that others are talking about. Certainly in Canada, it's becoming quite cynical. I'm surprised. We're a peaceful, happy little nation, big nation. But, we live next to this elephant, this big country of America. And, we see people getting a bit disheartened with recent political events in America, not even our own country, but still people feeling like, oh, there's just no hope. And I think, wow, we cannot afford to let our own goodness run dry, right? Because we're not going to get it from anywhere else. So we have to keep goodness alive for our sake. So what I brought are 3 practical tools for you to keep touch with your own goodness and make sure that it stays alive in these times where things are difficult. Okay? Yeah? Any comments or questions? Before I go on, I've got 3 ways to keep goodness alive. A little exercise for each of them. Yeah? Proceed? Okay, and just so you know, I gave a challenge to the front row of millennials. Have you got 5 yet? Not yet? How many have you got? 3? How many? 4? 3. Okay, so you need 2 more. So I asked the millennials to come up with 5 values that guide their behaviors. Because everybody's asking about millennials these days, and they're getting a lot of bad press because of their behaviors. Oh, they're distracted, they can't focus, they're always on their gadgets, etc. And I think, yeah, that's behavior. Underneath there's something driving the behavior of millennials, and we need to understand the values. So I gave them the challenge. I'm making it public now, just added pressure. Okay? So 5 values that drive their behaviors. All right, so let's start with 3 ways to keep goodness alive. At one point, you might need a piece of paper, but not now. So I'm just checking if we have paper. Let's see. First one, choosing a goodness lens. So lots of things are happening around me, and I can look at the world around me, I can look at the people in my life through whatever lens I choose. Sometimes I'm not even aware of the lens I'm choosing. I might be looking through a critical lens. I might be looking through a social justice lens, where I see oppressors and oppressed everywhere around me. That's what social workers tend to do. They look at the world through power lens. It's just a lens, right? I might look at the world through any kind of lens. I'm going to suggest you look at the world through a goodness lens. In other words, a lens where you see goodness, and in seeing it, it comes more into being, it grows. So we have a lot of energy in our minds, and we feed whatever we see. So if I see badness, if I see unkindness, and I focus on it, it becomes my world. It becomes all I can see. Right? One little thing, managers suffer this all the time. Teachers as well at school are very challenged with this, in that you'll have a classroom full of really great kids, and then you'll have that one that's always, right, causing some kind of trouble. And you go home at the end of the day, and someone says, how was your day? And you go, great, except for. And then you tell the story of the one, right? And the one becomes your whole day. When in reality, there were 25 other kids who were just great, really enjoying themselves. But whatever we feed with our attention will grow in our mind. So that becomes all we see. So seeing with the goodness lens means making a choice of what to see in every situation I look at. Here is, so, and then it becomes the foreground. This is a trick of consciousness. I can choose what's in the foreground and what's in the background in my mind. So yes, there is a parched desert there. Oh, and look what I happen to notice, the flower. The flower comes into the foreground, the desert recedes into the background. I'm not denying its existence. This is not cheerleading. This is choosing what to focus on as my choice. What to focus on. In this case, I'm focused on the flower. It comes into the foreground. So we've got some challenging situations in the world, though. When this happened, you know, we sat in shock, most of us, in front of our TVs, watching a plane fly into the tallest building in downtown Manhattan. I mean, even to see a plane fly into a building was a shock. It was like a cartoon. How could we possibly absorb that? It was so shocking. So the media played it again and again and again. How many thousands of times did we see that image? Plane flying into building, right? You all saw that, did you? Millennials were 5. How old were you? 1. You were 1? You didn't see this then. You were spared. Okay. But for those of us older than, well, how long ago was this? 2001? Yeah, you would have been 1 if you're a millennial. Okay. So there were lots in the room who saw this, right? Not just me. Okay. But then did you notice, after the initial pictures of this tower, these 2 towers going down, then what we began to see, and it came to the foreground of all the media coverage, is that the focus then turned to the heroes. The firemen, the firewomen, the people who helped each other inside the building get out. You know, what happened afterwards in terms of Muslims and Jews coming together to host a memorial service downtown, the interfaith gathering. They put up a memorial, all the families met together and shared their stories and became great friends across religions because of what had happened to them. Many, many, many things happened that were good. And the media then shifted its focus onto the goodness. Did you notice that? So now, when we think of 9/11, we think of the shock, but actually what I think of is all of the goodness that came from that. So much goodness. I told a story in Makati about Where I live, Swiss Air 111 went down into the ocean just off the coast. It nosedived, and it was the UN bus that went back and forth between Geneva and downtown New York, flew over Halifax, went straight down into the ocean. The fisher people went out in their boats, because it's a rural fishing area, and they went out in their boats to find people who'd survived. Nobody survived, 200 plus died. So they spent 2-3 weeks trolling in their boats with their nets, catching, if you can believe it, body parts. How awful is that? Why did they do it? Because if it was their loved ones, they'd want to bury the full body. So they went retrieving, and they needed the DNA test to tell who was who and all that. So they were completely traumatized by this event, obviously. They had grief counselors and, come. But what the families did, they all flew in from around the world to have a memorial for these people who died. And it was the birth of the Halifax Interfaith Committee, because the imam, the rabbi, and the bishop had to get together with the Buddhist Lama to host an interfaith memorial service for the families of the dead. And so that was an incredibly good thing. And then the families got together and created a scholarship fund for the children of the fisher people. $10,000 a year, $1,000 for each of 10 children who were going to university, who had any interest in studying human relations, interfaith, sociology, anything to do with making the world a better place. And so that continued for 10 years. It seems like nothing, but for the people of that place, it was huge that their children could go to university. It wasn't part of their experience up until that part. I mean, it seems like such a tiny thing. I have goosebumps just thinking of it. The goodness that came from those people from New York and Geneva to the fisher people in response to the goodness that they had expressed by going out to find body parts. Isn't that amazing? Goosebumps. Anyways, so every one of these stories, there are as many, if not more, stories of goodness that come to the foreground. And like the tsunami, destruction happened, huge destruction, lots of death, lots of damage, right? And so we're not denying the existence of that, but choosing a goodness lens means I start looking for what's the goodness that this negative event has inspired. It was a catalyst for goodness. So, this is the goodness lens. Now, you ready for the exercise? Yeah? No pipe cleaner for this one. You have to use your mind for this one. You can use your pipe cleaner again, actually, if it helps the thinking. Feel free to change the shape. Okay, here is the exercise. It's part of choosing the goodness lens, actually, and this is a belief I have, so I'm not sure if you share this belief, but my feeling is that life is a school. Life is a school. And the curriculum is customized to each of us, right? So whatever I'm living is a golden opportunity, a golden classroom for my learning. When I started thinking about values, I began to think that every situation I'm in is a curriculum for values. So it's really easy to live my values when it's easy. It's not so easy to live my values when it's hard. So any hard or difficult situation that I'm in, I always stop immediately, and this is applying the goodness lens. I stop and look at the situation and I ask myself, what value is this situation cultivating in me? It's like the pearls that start with an irritant, a little bit of sand in the oyster, right? And yet it becomes a pearl, refined, layered over time. So I want you all to think of a challenging situation in your life right now, or a challenging person. So it could stop there and we just tell stories of our challenging person or our challenging situation, and therefore we will grow it. We will see it into being bigger, right? Or we can put a full stop and say, what value is this situation or person cultivating in me or requiring of me And if I'm at all stubborn, I won't want to give it. Right? So usually the challenging situation or people in our lives are challenging us to live a value that we don't want to in that situation. I don't want to be respectful. They're not respecting me. And yet respect is my quality. Even if I don't get respect, especially when I don't get respect, am I able to offer respect back? Because if I offer disrespect to disrespect, what's going to happen? I'm going to get more disrespect back, and the vicious cycle continues. And the situation gets bigger and worse. Somebody comes in front of me, what they really want is my understanding, and I don't feel like I want to give it to them right now. Why? I'm grumpy, I'm stubborn, I'm fed up, I'm whatever. That's the very moment that I need to give. Why? Not for the other person, for me. Because a value is being challenged in that moment. If we only live our values when it's easy, then they're not that useful to us. The world needs us to live our values when it's hard. So, take your little pipe cleaner if you'd like. Think for yourself on your own for a couple minutes. But this is silence time again. I would like you to go inside yourself. Bring to mind a picture of a person or a situation that is challenging, you find challenging right now in your life. And as you imagine the person or the situation, I would like you to ask yourself this question: what value is this situation or person cultivating in me, requiring of me? And if I choose, I can grow that value thanks to the situation or person. Okay, and then they become my teacher. So take a moment on your own, reflect. A challenging situation or person, and what's the value you feel being called from you that you could, if you wanted, really develop in this situation, okay? So 2 minutes on our own in silence. Think about that. Okay, are you able to identify the value? That's the first step. Can you identify it? Second step is, are you willing? Because it's a choice. And then the third step is you're just going to have to repeat it 1,000 times, because our life gives us situations that don't go away immediately with one practice of a value. We have to get it embedded again and again and again. Does that make sense? This is choosing a values lens, and it's for your sake. Because we take ourselves with us. If that situation changes or we leave that situation or person, we will create it somewhere else. So until I learn that lesson, until I really develop the capacity to express that value, to live it. I think the new title that I have given Alive is Always Living in Values Expression. Always living in values expression. I'm unhappy if I'm not living my values. I'm happy when I'm living my values. So it's the always part that's key here. In any one of these situations, be it a Twin Towers or somebody that I have a deep standing resentment with, always it's going to come back to, can I see the goodness? Can I use the situation to cultivate my own value? Always living in values expression. Embodying it. Okay, is that okay? Lesson number 1. Use a goodness lens. It's not so easy actually, but it's a good mental workout. Were you able to visualize person, situation? And then the question is, if the value is not clear to you, ask yourself the question every day for the next 10 days and it will become clear. Okay, don't think about it. Just sort of ask the question and be open, and it will come. Ah, it's this value. Okay, let me research this value and express it more. Okay? All right, next one. Oh, and the reason we're doing this, I put this here, because the mind follows a picture. So if I have in my mind the picture of the negative situation or person rather than that little yellow flower, right? Whatever is in my mind, I will follow that picture. So look here, what picture comes to mind when you see this? Don't cross the street. What picture is in your mind? Across the street, right? Okay, what picture's in your mind here? Litter, right? What picture is in your mind here? Ah, you can see it pretty clearly. You know what it looks like, right? What's the picture in your mind here? All right, so if the mind follows a picture, and partly the reason I meditate is to visualize. I sit quietly and I visualize an alternate picture because I know my mind's going to follow it. So if I can see it, I can create it. If I can't see it, I won't create it. And why is that? Usually in the world we create pictures of what we don't want to happen. And the media feeds us at every turn what we don't want. We see sensationalized. But, yeah, I mean, we're bombarded. I pretty much don't pay attention to any of this. And if I do, I see something, then I immediately send good wishes with my mind. I send email, energy mail to the situation. But this is because there is no image for the word don't. I don't want to be with this person. I don't want them to treat me like this. I don't want to get angry. All of these things, what are we reinforcing in our minds? Angry. Right? We're reinforcing the negative. So to keep goodness alive, I have to choose a goodness lens, which means I have to create pictures in my mind of what I want, not what I don't want, because don't has no picture, and the mind follows a picture. This is all mental, internal work. What pictures are you putting in your mind? So what do you want to see? This is number one, choose a goodness lens, okay? Number two, and we're going to do a little meditation with this one. You have to keep in touch with your own goodness. So how do you keep in touch with your own goodness? You tell everybody every day about your goodness? No, chances are you're not doing that. No, the media is probably not proclaiming on a daily basis your goodness. No. So, how do you keep your own goodness alive? This is partly why we meditate. We have to think about what I want, and then I have to create the experience of that inside myself. So this is, we're going to do a little meditation, and I'm going to ask you to choose between these three. Which one do you want more of right now in your life? Is it love? Is it peace? Is it happiness? Those are the big three, typically, that we all want. Okay, you have to choose one. Let's see, show of hands. How many are picking love for this exercise? How many want more of that in their life right now? Great. How many are picking peace? Hands up. Yeah, it's such a good thing. We can have all of it, actually. But for this exercise, you're just going to pick one, okay? How many want happiness? Yeah, excellent. Okay. So you're going to get all three of them, but for the sake of this exercise, I want you just to pick the one, okay? And are you willing to go into a little visualization exercise, like a meditation? And it's going to take us about 3 minutes. Is that okay? All right, so you might want to just shake off a bit and then settle into your chair. Again, hands are free, no papers, no nothing on your lap. You're going to need to be free. Maybe you could stretch in your chair if you could, just for a minute, and bend sideways. You've been sitting for a while. Bend and twist. Oh, that's good. All right, that's good. Okay, tighten all the muscles in your legs. Every muscle in your leg, including your feet, tighten, tighten, tighten. Hold them tight. Ah, release. Relax. Okay, feet, spin them around like they tell you to do on airplanes. Both directions, 8 times each way. We get a little movement down there. Very, very good. Okay. And now for the shoulders, roll your shoulders. Roll them back. We tend to be hunched a lot in the day. And neck is usually like this, following our thoughts. So pull your neck back. Too far, so it feels weird. And then find the right sort of posture. So it's upright and dignified, but relaxed. Okay? So hands, shake it out. Shake hands. Okay, take a deep breath in. Let it out very slowly. Another deep breath in. Breathe in fresh energy, hold it, and breathe out very slowly. Sink into your chair. Another deep breath in. Hold it and release into peace. So you're sitting in this chair. Feel the contour of the chair underneath your body, holding you up. You feel the floor beneath your feet. We hear a little bit of movement in the room. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for 3 minutes for this visualization exercise, okay? So, first thing we will do is concentrate, focus our mental energy, our awareness. I want you to put your hand on your heart. Like old friends meeting, hand meets heart. And I would like you to see if you can feel your heartbeat. Gentle breath in. Put your hand down. Imagine an invisible line between your heart and the center of your forehead, which is where your awareness resides. I'd like you to pull your attention back behind the forehead, behind the eyes, and imagine a room in your head. It's a big, spacious, beautiful room, bright and light and clean, completely clean, and there's a soft, comfortable chair in the middle of this room. I'd like you to imagine yourself sitting on this chair in this beautiful, spacious room. You're free, you're comfortable, you're alone and peaceful. Nobody can enter this room without your permission. So you have a little bit of time, 2-3 minutes, by yourself, with yourself. You're hearing my voice now, coming in through the ears, the speakers of this room inside your head. I'm going to ask you to imagine where the eyelids are, a big movie screen. And on the screen of your mind is essentially a screen where thoughts are projected throughout the day. I'm going to ask you to choose the thoughts you project on your mind. This is meditation. We choose what we put in our mind. I'm going to ask you to choose now to see on this big screen in front of you the quality you have chosen for this exercise. This is the quality or virtue or value that you want to experience more at this time. So see it like a big movie title on a film. So you see peace or love or happiness, whatever you chose, on the screen of your mind in front of you. Now I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and using the power of visualization, begin to grow your experience of this quality. First question. Whatever quality you've chosen, I'd like you to think about it, like we did with the pipe cleaners, for about 30 seconds. What does this quality really mean to me? So take a moment and sort of work out your own keywords or simple definition. What does this quality really mean to me now? Take a deep breath in key words now that lead you into this quality. Second question, on the screen of your mind, I'd like you just to allow an image to come up. And the question is, what does this quality look like? Maybe it's a symbol, an image, but just allow a picture to come into your mind. What does this quality, peace, love, or happiness, look like? And allow an image to come on the TV screen of your mind. Take a deep breath in. And the third question, I'd like you to find a memory of a moment, a time when you experienced this quality. Maybe this morning, maybe 10 years ago. Might be for a split second, might be a long extended memory. But find a memory, remember a time when you experienced this quality. And I would like you to replay the memory like a movie on the screen in your mind. Picture, where were you? What were you doing? Who were you with? And what was the feeling? Take a moment now and replay the memory like a movie in your mind. You begin to feel the quality. Breathe in. Release. And very, very slowly, just check how you feel inside right now as you open your eyes. Come back into the awareness of this room. Okay, how many of you were able to experience peace, love, or happiness? If you went to sleep, you had peace. So that's good. That's very good. It's good to have a 3-minute power nap. Peace. No, yes, that's fine. You know, many people meditate. When they meditate for the first time, they fall asleep. And the reason is, one, we're tired. Right? And two, the only time that I ever feel peaceful is when I'm sleeping. It's the only time the mind isn't racing. So if the talking you in to this little meditation took you into sleep, it's because that you're conditioned. The only time to be peaceful is when sleeping. It's the only time the mind isn't active. So we like to get some rest and then meditate when we're not exhausted. Then we can experience it. But how many experienced the quality, love, peace, or happiness that you were? And any question more effective than another? We got the first question, which was, what does it mean? Second question, what does it look like? Some people love images. I had the image of a smiling, giggling, laughing baby for happiness. Do you have good images? Anyone have some good images? Yeah, that one's quite powerful, actually. And then the third one, to remember when you were. Could anyone remember a memory? That's often the most powerful. Because the minute you go back into a memory, you feel it instantly. So there you go, you're all meditators now. Sit down and remember when, and then you'll feel it. But the point is, on a daily basis, you have to keep in touch with your own goodness. Otherwise, it will get buried under the noise of the world. And then you'll be running on empty and wonder why you're grinding your engine. Right? You need to feed. You need to spend time with your goodness every day. That's number 2. And the third one is see goodness behind the eyes. I've asked this question in every group, so excuse me if you've heard it before, But there's a movie called Invictus. Has anyone seen? It's about Nelson Mandela and the South African rugby team, right, who won. I love this movie. It's a well-told story, but also it reveals a lot about Nelson Mandela. And the actor who played him, Morgan Freeman, was asked, how did you play Nelson Mandela so well? And actors usually mimic, characteristics, movements, gestures. And Morgan Freeman said the salient feature of Nelson Mandela was the silence behind his eyes. So that's what he copied as an actor to play Nelson Mandela. Silence behind his eyes. So the eyes are the window of the soul, right? You can see values, virtues, qualities, goodness, if you look behind the eyes. Sometimes just looking in the eyes, you see distress, confusion, anger, all these other things. So you have to become a bit of a microscopic. You kind of have to look beyond things. So I'm going to give you a bit of a quiz here. I'm going to show you 3 faces, 3 sets of eyes, and I want you to yell out what you see behind the eyes. What do you see behind the eyes? Positive qualities, virtues, values. What do you see behind those eyes? This is where we find we don't have enough words in our vocabulary. What is that exactly that we're seeing? This is why we have to learn values words, virtue words. What are you seeing? Strength? What else? Say again? Determination. Is that what you said? Yeah, I see that also behind her eyes. She's very strong, very determined. Contentment. Yeah, interesting. She's pretty happy too. You can see that. Okay, this one. What do you see behind the eyes? Love. Compassion. Concern. Now that's not a positive value. So inside concern, what's the positive part? Care. Yeah, and a sensitivity maybe is what you're seeing, like sensitive. And this one was the leader of the Brahma Kumaris internationally. It's a woman. Could be either man or woman, eh? Became so complete of all values and virtues, the strong ones and the softer ones. So she looks, you can't tell, man or woman. But anyways, what do you see behind those eyes? Strength, power, wisdom, love. All right. So, quick quiz. What are the 3 ways to keep goodness alive? Choose a goodness lens, which means focus on what's good. There's lots of bad. We're not denying it. Focus on the good. Foreground. Okay, number 2? Touch with your own goodness every day. And number 3? Behind the eyes. Okay, I want you to turn to the person next to you and look behind their eyes. Eyes are the windows of the soul. What do you see? Look beyond the... What do you see? We see delight. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. So, those are the 3 ways to keep goodness alive in today's world. Okay, and this is for your sake. So you stay fresh and whole and healthy and sane and hopeful inside. The world will do whatever it does, but keep your goodness alive. For your sake and for the sake of the ones around you. Okay? So, goodness can never die because it's the very core of who we are. But if you ignore something long enough, it withers, isn't it? Yeah. So, Let the Son of God's love, this is a nice meditation, just imagining myself, the soul, the being of light, blossoming like a little bud. Sometimes I sit, and this is what I do in meditation, I imagine I'm like a little bud, like this. But buds with the sun, so the Son of God's light, what happens? I just sort of warm up inside, and all my goodness starts to unfurl, petal after petal, a little blossom, until finally I just bloom. This is a wonderful imagery for keeping goodness alive by caring for it every day, and then we create a world of flowers. Om Shanti. Om, I the soul, Shanti, peace. I'm a peaceful soul. It's a way of saying thank you. Om Shanti. Thank you, all of you, for playing along with all of that. I don't know if we do question answer now. We do question answer. And then do we have time for a 5-minute meditation at the end? We do, okay. So we might need to stretch a bit more before then. But so, questions, comments, observations, insights, queries, clarifications, all of these are possible now. And there are microphones there.
Maybe ask Gracie here, Mysterio, a millennial, to facilitate in this question and answer. Good morning. Hi. Hello. Hi. Welcome and thank you very much, Miss Judy, for the powerful talk. I hope you all have your goodness revived today and you're alive as well. So the floor is open for questions. And if you're shy, just share whatever you like. So just state your name and your organization, your student or your company. And also if you would like to share more, if you're single, available, married, whatever, or it's complicated, it's definitely not, simply okay. So it's complicated. But I would like to require first from the millennials, from a fellow millennial, for the first question. So,
Plus, we need to hear the 5.
yes, the 5 values that motivate, let us give them a taste of what we really are, okay? So I'll give my first one, it's passion. So I believe millennials are very passionate in what they do. That's why they give everything, and they're very motivated to do whatever they want to do. So you can proceed. First question. Don't be shy, I'm not shy.
One of you, we need to hear the other 4.
Yes.
Go on.
Your number 5 is now reduced to 4, so thank you. Okay.
Can I trade you microphones and you take that one?
Yes, sure.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, good morning to everyone. I am Neil Flores, and I am a student, a senior high school student from Alamba National High School, and I'm together with my friends and my teachers here today. And so upon the challenge of Ma'am Judy, we were actually asked what really is the values of millennials today, so that we would understand ourselves, and also we would let the other people, especially the older people, to understand us better. If we could verbalize what it is that we are doing. And so for me, number 1, millennials are free-spirited. What do I mean by this? It means that sometimes we break the rules, we do not obey the norms, and so if like we are given a task and then we are told to say do this way, we tend to initiate another way that is what we see as fitting for the task that would complete that.
So free-spirited means freedom is a value, but also I hear in that inventive, creative. Is it?
Yes. And so sometimes we do not just follow, and then sometimes we also make our own ways of how to do things.
Does that mean independent?
Sort of, yes.
Okay.
So that's already like 3 plus passion 4.
Have you got some more?
We also have a value for, how should I say this, positive thinking, in a sense that we spread awareness about mental health. And so if you could see posts in social media about depression, about things like that, because we would tend to make it more or spread awareness on positive thinking, although mostly people perceive it on a negative way. And so, with that.
Oh, so positive is a value. Right. And the older generation might interpret that as superficial, but it's actually positive. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, you got more?
And I think the last one that we agreed upon is that millennials are also multitaskers. And so sometimes you may perceive us as we have a short attention span. Like while listening, we would do Facebook or we would do something with our phone because we tend to maximize our time to the fullest. We would like to perceive it as that way, and so like we could listen and like type, chat at the same time, depending on the purpose that we are doing. And so,
So what's the value there? Maximizing your time. Is it efficiency?
yeah, efficiency. We could put it that way.
Well, I'm looking for the value. Does anyone else hear another value in that? Maximizing their time.
For me, that's innovative.
That is innovative,
Yes.
isn't it?
Because, finding more ways to do more things at once.
Yeah, yeah.
I do that.
Yeah, and also they can focus very, very concentrated in short bursts. But over a long period of time, they have enormous stamina. Isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you very
doing
much.
that homework. I appreciate that. Was that good for you to know about yourselves? It's a more of a positive angle of the negative things. Thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate that. Everyone else appreciate hearing that? That was the goodness lens on millennials. Yeah, okay. Any other?
Thank you very much for affirming our generation. Yes. By the way, I was born in 1990, so I just fit in your criteria. So just to put it out there that I'm not joking or I'm not really making a joke, By the way, we'll now move on to this side. The blue girls, the blue one, I can see peaceful people. So anybody from there is willing to stand up, go to the microphone and ask whatever there is in your head. Don't be shy. Don't be shy, teachers. Do you want me to go there and ask you personally? See, I'm just really given this job right now, so I don't have to be shy. I can't afford to be shy. Come on, I'll just pick a face. Hi, you're smiling, so
How do we do that? How do we find goodness? How do we define?
Alright. So basically what I understand is how do you find goodness in challenging people? So, Ms. Judy, if you may
I didn't understand motto. Does that mean gang?
Again, yes.
Yeah. Is that Cebuano or is that Tagalog? Cebuano. Okay. Yeah. I used to be a probation social worker, so I had to work with young people who got in detention lockup, not jail, because they were too young. but most of them were in gangs, right? And it was really interesting, the research they've been doing about people who join gangs is that what leads them to join gangs is a desire to belong, which we all have. And then when you get into the gang, in order to be respected, you have to do what the gang does, so you end up doing bad things. Right, so if you actually look at there are always values guiding our behaviors. Right, so if you look behind the behaviors, there are values that we can actually relate to. Right, respect, belonging, cooperation, and it just plays out in a negative context and causes a lot of damage, right, of the person. So I think the practice of seeing the goodness behind the eyes, and you can do that without even being with the person. In fact, giving too much of yourself to somebody who doesn't value you is like throwing away goodness. So, you know, take care of your own goodness in this situation. Don't self-sacrifice to the point that you lose yourself. That's not goodness, right? On the other hand, you know, I spend time alone imagining the goodness behind the eyes of people who are really, really challenging. And so not even being with them, but giving them that good energy from a distance, slowly over time, it's kind of like they pick it up. But you can never change another person, so don't try. Just keep your own goodness alive, okay?
Yes. From my perspective, if you find a challenging person, do not hate the person, just turn that negative quality into a positive. So don't hate the person, just be certain belief or attitude and change it to positive. So we'll move on to this side. So I see very shy faces but are very wanting to ask a question. Ma'am, you have a question? No? What else? Who else? Let's move on to the men in the area. Sir, you have a question?
Don't make eye contact.
Okay, so if nobody is having any more questions?
I guess they're full.
Yeah, they're actually very satisfied with the lesson.
They must be. You're doing an amazing job.
Thank you. Let's good thing coming from you. I just hope I did a service that's a little bit of time.
Oh yeah.
And I'll be turning over the microphone to, yes, over there. I'm sitting down now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was so natural. I appreciate that. That was parenting rule number 2 in our house, was don't make eye contact. When the kids were toddlers, anytime they fell down, right, if you make eye contact, it turns into a hugely distressing event. If you don't make eye contact, they pick themselves up and move on. So it's a really great parenting rule. Don't make eye contact. You have to know when to use it. Okay, I'm told that we do have 5 minutes for meditation. Is that okay? Okay, before we start this meditation though, you have to go into the meditation having chosen something you love in nature. Okay, so everyone has to pick only one thing. You can't pick all of nature. So you have to pick a tree, or the sun, or a butterfly, or a flower, or a river, or a mountain, or... Okay, so you have to pick one thing. Okay, and we'll start when everyone has their thing. So how many have got mountains? Yeah. Anyone picking the sea, the ocean? Yeah. River? Or stream? Lake? Do you have lakes here? Yeah, we have lots of lakes, okay. Forest? Tree? Star? Moon? Sun? Rainbow? Butterfly? Anything. I'm picking waterfall. Okay, so everybody needs one thing. Do you have? Okay. Now before we go into meditation, you need to describe 3 qualities that you feel inside when you see this thing. Okay? So I'll give you an example. So it's values language, right? So when I see a waterfall, I can say, oh, it's beautiful and it's this and that, but how I feel inside, I find it very refreshing, sparkling, and alive, say. Okay, so not wet, blue, tall. Those are physical things, right? That won't work in our meditation. You have to find 3 qualities you feel inside. Okay, so take a moment and identify 3 qualities, and then we'll have our meditation. Everybody needs 3 for this to work. Okay, so just take a minute. 3 qualities that you feel when you see this thing you love in nature. That's great. Okay, so now let's meditate. We got 3 minutes to meditate. You know how to do it. So let's just close our eyes for this. I'd like you to breathe in again, just so that you get grounded in your body. Breathe in to create images and thoughts that make me feel good. And this is how we keep goodness alive. Om Shanti. Thank you. Could you see your picture?
Yes,
Did it feel nice?
very nice.
Yeah, the way to not sleep in meditation is to actively create pictures, because then we're engaged. It's like watching a movie. We like it. And then it's fun to make time to do this. You could do this meditation every day and pick something different from nature, and you'd probably never run out of things. Right? Every day. All right. Thank you so much for coming. Really lovely way to spend the night.